You are currently listening to and maybe watching my first ever podcast episode, and I'm really excited. I want to read you something that I wrote in my notes app last night as I was going to sleep, and I wrote this out as something that I would start the podcast with to catch people's attention and something I would just say off the cuff, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm making this up on the spot. Here it goes. If anyone actually cares about what I have to say, they'll love this podcast. I'm going to lay it all out for you. It's going to be honest. I want this podcast to be a roller coaster ride through my mind and something that you've never experienced before. So, hopefully that gives you a little insight into my intentions with this podcast. I want to do something a little bit different, and I've really been loving listening to podcasts lately. I know that everyone and their grandmother has a podcast nowadays, and I want this one to be a little bit different, and I'm not exactly sure what form it's going to take, and I'm sure it will evolve as I keep going with it, but I know I want it to be different and just very truthful and honest and hopefully just a peek into my mind, if anyone cares. And alright, so let's get into why I wanted to start this podcast. I recently have been shooting a video podcast for a client of mine. I am a freelance, videographer and photographer, and I've been shooting a video podcast for a client, and it's been a really enjoyable experience, and it's made me feel like I want to do this too. And so that's really one of the major things that made me want to do this. As I'm talking right now, I will say I'm a little bit stumbling. My mind can't work fast enough. And another reason why I want to start this podcast is because a lot of times in conversation, I will find myself after a conversation with someone thinking about it and thinking about the things that I said and thinking, man, I wish I said this differently, or I wish I said that differently, or I should have said it that way, or I should have picked this wording instead of that wording. And I think that's a really interesting thing, and maybe it's a symptom or a sign or symptom of something, but I feel like the best way to confront that would be to just sit down and talk for a long time on video, being uploaded to thousands of subscribers, and just get over that. And it's not even the fear part of it. It's just like, it's the way I think of it is as a perfectionism of words and of speech. Just like I can be a perfectionist about other things, and I made a whole film about perfectionism, random ideas. It feels like that, but for talking, and I want to get that out of my head. I don't want to dwell on conversations and think, oh, I should have said that differently. I should have said this differently. But I also think that, lately I've been thinking a lot more intentionally about how I talk and the words that I use, just in conversation itself, and just thinking, what do I really mean? And what are the best words to use that actually represent what I mean? And, there's a lot of things that we say that we don't necessarily mean them the way that we say them, but certain words have connotations and things like that. I'll give an example. We say should a lot. I should go to the gym. I should do this. I should do that. And I think a lot of the time that's a little bit unfounded. And I've been trying recently to eliminate the shoulds as much as possible. I want to do this. It's not something that I feel pressure to do, or maybe I do feel pressure, but it's not something that I want to put pressure on myself to do, but it's just something that I want to do or I don't want to do. All right, what else do we have on here? I got myself a little list on my computer of just a few of my talking points. It's really not much, but I need something to just remind me of what I'm doing. And I don't have a ton on here, to be honest, but I'm hoping that as I, you know, start getting through the topics that I have really just a random assortment of things. But I think they'll be interesting. And yeah, I'm hoping that I'll just sort of go down the rabbit hole. My phone is going off. I'm putting it on Do Not Disturb. I'm hoping I'll just start talking, and that's what has already happened. So let's keep it moving here. I'm going to allow myself to do some minor editing to the podcast if I pause for a long time or I mess up saying something important that I want to fix, but it's not going to be heavily edited. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's going to be, for at least this first episode, formatted like a pretty normal podcast, but it's obviously solo, which most podcasts are not solo. I think I said this before, but I've been loving listening to podcasts recently, and I could mention some of my favorite ones. Maybe I'll do that in a future episode and talk through some of my favorites and why I like them. All right. So I've been away for a while from my social channels, and it's been because I've been busy. I have had, over the last few months, a ton of freelance video work, and that's been awesome. And I've really reached a new level in terms of the types of work that I'm doing, and I'm really happy. But it has taken up time that I have been using in the few months before that to make YouTube videos, to make Instagram content, and things like that. And that is unfortunate, but I graduated high school, and it's the summer now, and so I have a good amount more time. And the last week or two, I've just been kind of trying to get the train moving again with this content and my personal projects that I just want to do for myself. But it's proven a little bit more difficult than I thought. And, it has some inertia, if that makes any sense. Once it stopped for a few months, it's hard to get the train moving again, or it just takes some time. And so it's been taking some time. But I have some exciting new projects going on, and this is one of them. And I want to talk later about another one, which is a documentary that I'm working on this summer that I am directing, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to talk about a few just kind of random things. First, one of them is about my music listening habits. I am a weird person who just likes songs, and I don't put songs into playlists anymore, and I used to, but for some reason now I just like the songs, and I just listen to my liked songs. And I have this cycle, this vicious cycle of just learning to hate every liked song that I have. Like, I swear I hate like the majority of my liked songs on Spotify. And it's because the cycle is this. I find a new song that I like, and I put it in my liked songs. Then I listen to it a bunch of times, and then I get sick of it. And that just continues to happen. I find a new song. I'm like, oh, this is so fresh, so new, so refreshing. It's not like that old song that's annoying now. And then I listen to that one more because it's refreshing, and the rest of them suck. And so I skip through them when I'm listening to my liked songs on shuffle. And I only get the refreshing ones. But then, of course, the refreshing ones get not so refreshing after some time. And so I just end up hating all of them. And so when I started listening to music about, like, seriously listening to music about, seriously, as if people listen to music seriously. I started really listening to music and, like, getting a Spotify account not even 2 years ago. And before that, I really didn't listen to music much. And I started listening to a lot of rap, and now I don't, it's not that I don't like the genre of rap anymore. It's just those specific, all of like the 100 or whatever, 150 rap songs that I have liked. I'm just sick of them. And so I'm just like, I need something new. Listen to a lot of indie kind of stuff. I don't even know if that's a real genre or it's just like I don't really get how independent is a genre. I don't know if there's definitely a connotation there, and like it is a genre. I know it's a genre, but like I don't totally understand. Anyways, I'm just making myself look stupid, but there's going to be a lot of that on this podcast. I told you it was going to be honest. I told you I'm going to lay it all out for you. That's what I said, and I'm laying it all out for you right now. But I'm enjoying this, and I'm starting to pick up the pace a little bit, and the first, oh wow, it's been a long time already. I'm just looking down at my monitor and seeing how much time's gone. Time's flying, and I'm really enjoying this, and I'm starting to pick up the pace. At the beginning, there's a lot of pauses, and just trying to think about what I'm going to say, and now it's just kind of flowing. And this is really what I wanted. And I'm hoping eventually I'll be really good where I can just start talking and just go at the beginning of the podcast. But anyways, we're in the zone right now. So I think that's it for the Spotify thing. Next, random thought that I had that I wrote down. Presentations are really cool. I went through school, elementary school, middle school, doing presentations, being forced to do them and hating them and dreading having to go up in front of the class and present and all that stuff. And then as a senior, I had to do a senior project, and I will say I've always known that like public speaking was something that I wanted to be able to do and wanted to be good at. Because whenever I do it, like right after I do it, I'm like, man, like I want to do it again now. Like I want to do it again tomorrow. Because like once you get over the nerves, at least for me, once I get over the nerves, I just realize, oh, this is like actually kind of cool. And it's a cool opportunity. It's a cool capability. And there's a lot of potential power and influence and, meaning that it can have. Speaking to a bunch of people about something. And when you really actually care about it, that's when it gets fun. And so our school graduation requirement we have is we have to do the senior project, and it's like I think it was a 15 to 17 minute presentation. And that was by far the longest presentation I've ever done. And I enjoyed it. And as someone who had been just scared of presentations for a long time, sort of preparing the whole year and doing smaller presentations and then doing that larger one, it was a really cool experience of like getting, facing that fear. And by the time I did the final one, I was just like, I was locked in and I wasn't really nervous, and I really enjoyed it. Like I was up there enjoying myself and just realizing like as I went on, I was just like, man, this is really fun. Like I like this. And it's just really cool. Like I've never had, it's just that, I'm standing in front of this class of, 20 something kids who are, my age. They're 17, 18 years old. And, half of them I've never had a conversation with before that lasted more than 5 seconds. And here I am talking to them for, 15 minutes plus, and getting to talk to them about something that I care about, something that's meaningful to me, and ideas that I have, and just being able to express myself in an interesting way and really feel like I'm connecting with them. Like that was really cool. And again, it's just like I'm able to express myself in a way, like I'm able to really show them who I am in a sense. I'm having trouble explaining it, but there's something really cool about that. Like I'm just just the idea that these people a lot of them don't really know me that well. We know each other, but we don't really know each other. And so being able to really talk to them on a like deep sort of level for a good period of time, and them really getting to know like what is going on inside my head and what I'm thinking about and what I care about is so cool to me. And so I want to get better doing presentations. And I wasn't even thinking about this when I wrote this idea to talk about this on the podcast, but the podcast is definitely a way of doing this. And I'm definitely, if I, when I do presentations in college, I don't know how much presenting I'll do, but just in the future in general, I'm hoping, I'll pull from the podcasting experience, and it'll help me, because talking to camera does transfer over to presentation skills, and I definitely noticed that as well. So I don't know what that'll look like, whether it's speaking in front of crowds at some kind of event, or I don't know. It'll happen in the future. It's one of those things where I'm like, I see this kind of coalescing, and it's not like it's meant to be like karma, whatever kind of thing. It's just like I can see the puzzle pieces coming together. Like, I've always known that I've wanted to do public speaking, but been nervous about it and all this stuff. And now it's like, I see the pieces coming closer together, and it's exciting. So, next thing I have is the documentary that I mentioned before. I have been struggling with this documentary. So, I'm going to explain in detail what this documentary is. When I was 13, I'm Jewish, by the way, if you did not know that. So when I was 13, I became a bar mitzvah. And one of the traditions that comes along with that is that you do a bar mitzvah project, which is some sort of service project that you do leading up to your bar mitzvah ceremony. And what I chose to do was to I was already into video at the time, and so I made a short video, mini documentary kind of thing, with a Holocaust survivor who lived in town and who was a member of my temple. And that was really cool. And she is a really cool person. She is known all throughout my town. She's a crossing guard, and she wears these super colorful outfits, and she waves at everyone on the street, and everyone honks at her in the mornings as she's doing her crossing duties. Again, she's always dressed up, and just a character. And I want to make a documentary that is sort of my working name for it right now is Twin Flames. And my idea for it is that it will include both me and her as main characters. Let me backtrack a little bit. I took a Holocaust and genocide class in my high school this year, and I watched dozens of Holocaust films. And I want to do something different than all of those films. I don't want it to be a traditional Holocaust film in the sense that it's just a survivor's story, kind of thing, which is cool, and I think they should be documented and things like that, but I want to do something that's different and, from an artistic perspective. And watching those films gave me some inspiration to do that. And so I want it to be her and me as main characters, me coming to her about trying to figure out, trying to make sense of my own life and meaning and happiness and all of these big questions that we have throughout our lives, but especially, maybe in a developing period as a teenager going into college, and come to her and just get her perspective on the world, because I think it's so cool how upbeat she seems and how, she's just this bundle of joy, for lack of a better term, despite the things that she has experienced and generally all of the things that happen in the world every day that are terrible, how is she overwhelmingly upbeat, at least outwardly, despite all these things? So, yeah. The sort of transformation would, throughout the film, because I think story needs some sort of transformation would be essentially me going from confused to clear at the most basic level. And I've been trying to brainstorm how I want to tell a story, where all the different pieces are going to go. And I haven't really shot much yet. I've shot one day of B-roll, but no interview yet, and really not much. So I've heard a lot of advice from documentary filmmakers saying how, you never know exactly what's going to happen, but you need to start with the end in mind. And I've been trying to prepare. I've been trying to, again, plan out, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and then we're going to have this scene, and then we're going to have this, and then we're going to have this interview, and whatever. And I'm kind of feeling like now maybe I just need to just film an interview and see what I get out of that and start cutting it up. I recorded an interview with her for the mini documentary when I was 13, and I think it would be really cool too to cut back and forth between the old interview and the new one. And again, I don't know exactly how this is going to play into the story and where it's going to go and things like that, but I kind of feel like it's just maybe my perfectionism showing up again, and I need to just go film the interview and make, the best questions that I can based on what I think the story is right now. And that's one of the things about documentary, is that you don't know what you're going to get, and it's not a narrative. And so, it is a narrative. It's not fictional. And so, again, you just don't know exactly what's going to happen, what you're going to get. And you have to run with it a little bit and maybe iterate on it and change things, when after I do the interview and stuff like that. I'm not sure if any of that made a lot of sense, or if I was just talking and just saying a lot of words that were not the most meaningful, but hopefully it made some sense, and hopefully it was interesting. And that will definitely go on my YouTube channel once it's done. Once it's done. And I'm hoping it might be done. It might be done by the end of the summer. That was my original goal, was to have the whole thing done by September. We'll see. Last time it did not go like that. Last year with Random Ideas. That was a process where I wrote an outline for it June 2022. Wrote the script in a week in July. Filmed it in 8 days, July. Edited it from August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. And then I think I finished it on April 2nd. I uploaded it to YouTube, maybe. Anyways, that is that. Next thing is something a little bit different. I'm not sure how many people will be interested in this, but there are rumors of a new Blackmagic camera coming out. I am shooting on a Blackmagic camera right now for this podcast on YouTube, and I use it for pretty much everything that I do besides shooting photos, which I do on my Panasonic G9. And I love Blackmagic. I edit in DaVinci Resolve. I will be editing this podcast in DaVinci Resolve. Maybe if I'm really feeling like it, I'll add a little text that says hi from Ben in the editing suite. I always like when people say that. Now I'm losing my train of thought. New Blackmagic camera. That's right. Yes. So Blackmagic hasn't come out with a really new pocket cinema camera in a while. They made the 6K Pro, they made the 6K G2, and all this stuff, but all kind of similar, iterating on the same sensor, which I think their new camera might be the same sensor, but it's going to be a new lens mount from what I hear, L mount. And I actually predicted on my Instagram story that there would be a new Blackmagic camera before anyone else did, because I saw that they dropped the price a lot on B&H on the Pocket 6K G2. So I was like, there's going to be a new Pocket 6K, probably. At least a new camera, maybe not a Pocket 6K, but something from Blackmagic. And the reason why I say that, because of the major price drop, is because last time when they made the Pocket 6K G2, they did a major price drop on the Pocket 6K G1, which I have. And so I was seeing a pattern, and I'm saying, there's going to be a new Blackmagic camera. And then, surely as can be, that's probably not a saying, I hear rumors in the last couple of weeks that there's a new camera. Oh man, I just moved that whole tripod. Let me try to fix that with my leg a little bit. That was my foot under the desk that just moved that. Okay, hold on. We look to be pretty level. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. So, new Blackmagic camera, L mount. Anyways, okay. Yeah, then I hear rumors and I'm like, I was right. So, I mean, who knows? The rumors could be wrong. But anyways. L mount, I think, is cool. It's probably the best mount they could have done. I would have loved to see an E-mount camera just because there's so many lens options for E-mount. So many great lens options, but Sigma lenses, L mount, they're kind of native to L mount. And so I don't know if the native means anything, but anyways, Sigma lenses are great, and I love Sigma lenses. So I'll probably just use Sigma lenses on it. I'll probably buy it. If it has the specs that it's been rumored to have. I hear 6K 70 frames per second, 4K 140 frames per second. Hopefully that 4K is not cropped. If not, that camera is pretty much everything I can ask for. Obviously, autofocus. People want autofocus from it. I would love autofocus, but I'd probably just buy a separate camera to have autofocus. Buy a Sony camera, which is what I've been thinking about doing. Buying an A7 IV and having it as a hybrid for social media content. Even stuff like this where I just manually focusing is not the most ideal, even though I love this image quality so much. But not even this stuff as much as like faster kind of social media content. Really, I don't need it. It's honestly more for photos, but I'm probably going to remedy that by just getting some new stuff for the G9, because I loved that camera for photos. I loved it. But I had like an adapter breakdown on me and stuff like that just made it not the best. So this is all that I have for this podcast. I'm just gonna end it here. First impressions after doing this first episode, and please comment. If you're on a platform where you can comment, if you're on YouTube, please comment, let me know what you thought of this, and add like 3 periods to the end of your sentence so I know that you got this far. But please let me know what you thought of this. I don't honestly expect that it was the most entertaining podcast you've ever listened to, or most interesting, or most educational, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna make it better. I really enjoyed this. I will say I really enjoyed this, and I hope someone enjoyed this. I hope someone is like, man, I want more of these, because that's the way I feel after listening to a lot of podcasts. And yeah, if I can make someone else feel that would be so cool. Anyways, impressions. I do feel like there was a lot of pausing, and it depended on what I was talking about, and I don't want to pause so much, and it's difficult because usually on other podcasts there's other people, so they just jump in when there's a pause and stuff like that, and I just don't think fast enough to talk like that, and so there's a lot of dead space, and I don't love that as a video editor who just cut every dead space, every breath, and in a podcast you don't really do that. But again, with one person, it's like, whatever. I think this has been a really cool exercise. I'm really just rambling at this point. one other thing that I will talk about is that for a long time I've done voice memo, little voice memo journals. Just hold my phone and talk about things. I pace around. I pace a lot when I talk, and it definitely it takes some restraint not to just get up out of my chair right now and just start pacing around the room with my microphone. But I'm not doing that because this is a video podcast and an audio podcast. Maybe I don't even. It could be on Spotify. It might be. Someone might be listening to this on Spotify right now. Maybe in like 10 years in the future when this podcast is super famous. Probably won't go that long, but it might. It could. You don't know that it won't. All right. I am probably boring you at this point. You've probably already clicked off. And just embarrassing myself. Voice memo. I've done voice memo journals where I literally just talk to my phone for like 30 minutes or more sometimes, and I found this really enjoyable and cool to look back at sometimes as well. So this is kind of that, but it's just a little bit more formal and to a camera and a better microphone than my built-in iPhone one, and people can look at it and judge me, which is it's okay. It's okay. All right. I'm done. I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten to the end of this, I love you. Okay, one last thing. I think that podcasts should have a little bit more drawn out endings. I think that people come from YouTube and they think that it just needs to end. Like it just needs to be like last question is answered. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye. We'll see you in the next episode. I don't think so. For me, whenever I finish a podcast, I'm like, man, I spent like 2 hours with you. Give me like 5 minutes. Like talk to me a little bit about like your feelings. Like talk to me a little bit. Give me a little bit of like something, which I've been giving a lot of something. But anyways, like I want to hear something. Like I want to hear like, how'd you think that went? Like, you know, whatever. So I want to hear something. I want to hear your thoughts on it. I want to hear like wrap up for like a while. Like take some time. And it's like also like it's a retention kind of thing. So like people will just end it so quickly. So that way like because they think, okay, when people hear that we're wrapping up, they'll just click off and go to the next video. But with a podcast, it's like it's in the background anyways. Like I'm not gonna switch to that tab and like click off. And like I want to hear it at that point. Like if you've listened to a podcast for an hour, half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, like the last 5 minutes is not what's going to get you to click off unless it's like a blank screen with a really annoying high-pitched noise. All right. Now I'm really done. This was a prolonged ending. I'll see you in episode 2. That's it.